Coordinates 32 degrees 00 N 35 degrees 23 A 32.000 degrees north 35.383 degrees east 32.000 35.383. The West Bank is a landlocked territory near the Mediterranean coast of Western Asia, bordered by Jordan and the Dead Sea to the east and by Israel to the south, west and north. Under Israeli occupation since 1967, the area is split into 167 Palestinian islands, under partial Palestinian National Authority civil rule, and 230 Israeli settlements into which Israeli law is pipelined. The West Bank name was given to the territory after it was captured by Jordan in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War because it sits on the west side of the Jordan River. Jordan subsequently annexed the territory in 1950 and held it until 1967 when it was occupied by Israel during the 1967 Six-Day War. The Oslo Accords, signed between the Palestine Liberation Organization and Israel, created administrative districts with varying levels of Palestinian autonomy within each area. Area C, in which Israel maintained complete civil and security control, accounts for over 60% of the territory of the West Bank. The West Bank, including East Jerusalem, has a land area of 5,640 square kilometers plus a water area of 220 square kilometers, consisting of the northwest quarter of the Dead Sea. As of July 2017, it has an estimated population of 2,747,943 Palestinians, and approximately 391,000 Israeli settlers, and approximately another 201,200 Israeli settlers in East Jerusalem. The international community considers Israeli settlements in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, illegal under international law, though Israel disputes this. The International Court of Justice advisory ruling concluded that events that came after the 1967 occupation of the West Bank by Israel, including the Jerusalem Law, Israel's peace treaty with Jordan and the Oslo Accords, did not change the status of the West Bank as occupied territory with Israel as the occupying power. The name West Bank is a translation of the Arabic term ad-Difar-i-Ghabia, given to the territory west of the Jordan River that fell, in 1948, under occupation and administration by Jordan, which subsequently annexed it in 1950. This annexation was considered illegal and was recognized only by Britain, Iraq and Pakistan. The term was chosen to differentiate the West Bank of the River Jordan from the East Bank of this river. The Neo-Latin name Cisjordan or Cisjordan is the usual name for the territory in the Romance languages and Hungarian. The name West Bank, however, has become the standard usage for this geopolitical entity in English and some of the other Germanic languages since its creation following the Jordanian army's conquest. In English, the name Cisjordan is occasionally used to designate the entire region between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, particularly in the historical context of the British Mandate and earlier times. The analogous Transjordan has historically been used to designate the region now roughly comprising the state of Jordan, which lies to the east of the Jordan River. From 1517 through 1917, the area now known as the West Bank was under Ottoman rule as part of the provinces of Syria. At the 1920 San Remo Conference, the victorious Allied powers allocated the area to the British Mandate of Palestine. The San Remo resolution adopted on 25 April 1920 incorporated the Balfour Declaration of 1917. It and Article 22 of the Covenant of the League of Nations were the basic documents upon which the British Mandate for Palestine was constructed. The British proclaimed Abdullah Emir of Transjordan on the 11th of April 1921. He declared it an independent Hashemite kingdom on the 25th of May 1946. In 1947, it was subsequently designated as part of a proposed Arab state by the United Nations. The 1949 armistice agreements defined the interim boundary between Israel and Jordan. Following the December 1948 Jericho Conference, Transjordan annexed the area west of the Jordan River in 1950. naming it West Bank, or Cisjordan, and designated the area east of the river as East Bank, or Transjordan. Jordan ruled over the West Bank from 1948 until 1967. Jordan's annexation was never formally recognized by the international community, with the exception of the United Kingdom and Iraq. A two-state option, dividing Palestine, as opposed to a binary solution, arose during the period of the British mandate in the area. The United Nations partition plan had envisaged two states, one Jewish and the other Arab-Palestinian. But in the wake of the war only one emerged at the time. During the 1948 war, Israel occupied parts of what was designated in the UN partition plan as Palestine. King Abdullah of Jordan had been crowned King of Jerusalem by the Coptic bishop on 15 November 1948. Palestinian Arabs in the West Bank and East Jerusalem were granted Jordanian citizenship and half of the Jordanian parliament seats. Many refugees continued to live in camps and relied on UNRWA assistance for sustenance. Palestinian refugees constituted more than a third of T.